So camera A is good,
Yes.
camera B is good,
Yes.
microphone's good. Perfect. Let's get started. Welcome everybody to the second episode of the Daryl Kemsley Podcast. I am so excited to be here today. A few hours ago, Jasper and I went on Instagram and asked you guys a few questions to ask us for this Q&A podcast. So today is going to be a Q&A, and also if you're not following us on Instagram, you could find me at Daryl Kemsley right here. You could find Jasper, the man behind the camera. He's the head of my media team. He is a very big support system in my life. You could find him right here at Hella Bay. I think he's going to add a link in between my fingers maybe. That would be great. But Jasper, you got the list of questions?
Yes, I do.
Perfect. Let's just get started.
Okay, so one of the people ask you, so what gets you through the hard days?
Gratitude. Gratitude is what gets me through the hard days. Everybody has incredibly hard days, obviously. We are going through such a weird and volatile time in not just the world's history, not just the country's history, but also in a standpoint of technology and what's to come with like hyperinflation and fiat currencies, with cryptocurrencies emerging. All this is just to say we are living in such weird and confusing times. And life is hard regardless of this volatility and everything we're experiencing with the social unrest, politics, and all that BS. Gratitude. And this is a very good question to start us off, actually, because, and I know this has nothing to do with the question, but politically, I'm very progressive and I have a lot of progressive ideals. However, I do not consider myself liberal. I am very independent. And this is because, and I'm going to tie this into this question hopefully pretty well, but this is because the problem I see with the left is, and I'm just going to be frank and genuine because take everything I said with a grain of salt. I'm an idiot. I'm claiming I'm an idiot. These are all my opinions. However, I do notice a trend of people liking to live in misery and people being comfortable with living in the bandwidth of just being angry and being pissed. And obviously, there's a million reasons to be pissed about anything and everything, but I think there's something deeper than that. I think people are starting to become more comfortable with just living angry. And when days are tough, because trust me, days are tough for everyone, all sides, all parties, all colors, I really, really, really like to just focus on gratitude. And the best way to do that is box breathing. Like when I have a stressful conversation, stressful phone call, get overwhelmed with everything I have to do on my to-do list, I unplug real quick, practice box breathing. 4 seconds inhale, 4 seconds exhale, 4-second hold, repeat. And then that gets me in the mindset to be more calm, better with my energy, and then I could really force myself to get into gratitude and practicing just listing off mentally, verbally saying every single thing I'm grateful for. It doesn't take long before I turn my day around and everything, but very good question. Gratitude. Gratitude is everything.
Ooh, all right, awesome. So the next question is, what's the biggest attribute you do daily that's given you success in all your pursuits?
Okay, so the greatest attribute that I do daily for my pursuit. I talk about this in the first episode of the podcast that's out now. I know it's an hour and 10 minutes, but I promise you it's worth it. So please go and watch that. But for me to do everything and for me to show up to be productive every single day of my life, I have to hit my pillars. I have to do everything I need to in my foundation. My foundation has 4 moving pieces. And when I say foundation, what I mean is what I need to do to be sustained through my productivity, through my work, through my workload, through my stress load, and just to be grouchy human being. And I've also made the mistake before of sticking away, like pivoting away from my foundation, because a lot of these habits are very tedious. But the thing is, progression is not linear, and you have to stick to your fundamentals. You have to stick to your foundation. And every time I slip away, I find my mental health slipping away too. That being said, my 4 moving pieces: physical fitness. I believe that waking up early in the day and choosing to do the hard thing, choosing to go to the opposition, choosing to lift weights that are designed to be heavy to lift on purpose, gives you the sense of self-love and motivation as a byproduct because you went out and did something hard in the beginning. And that sets me out for the rest of the day with the confidence boost, with all the cognitive benefits, with the self-love for me to do everything because I already made the choice that morning to wake up and do something hard. B, intermittent fasting. I could do a whole podcast on intermittent fasting and how we come from hunters and gatherers and how overnutrition is pretty much the systemic cause of every single chronic disease out there. But for the sake of time, intermittent fasting. I fast 19 hours a day, every single day. I have a 5-hour eating window every day. And I'm repeating myself because I say all this in my first podcast, so please tune into that. Number 3 is what we just talked about, which is box breathing. So box breathing is a very good way for you to go into meditation. If you have ADD like me, if you have a hard time shutting off your mind like I do, box breathing is such a good way to just practice to go into meditation and calming your mind. I always box breathe with setting the intentions of having my aura extend out from my body to be able to absorb all the negative energy, absorb other people's negativity, absorb just all the BS that you get throughout the day. That way it does not affect my baseline. Number 4, affirmations. Affirmations is everything for me. You create your own reality. I've said that so many times, but it is so important to know who you are and set what you are and do your I am affirmations. This is what I do for myself. In my podcast, I give you specific examples of what my affirmations are, but every single time I'm feeling a little bit stressed out, before going into gratitude or everything, that's like kind of my hidden weapon to just go straight to gratitude if I'm way too stressed out. But before that, I go to my I am affirmations. So make a list of those, do a little Google research on what those could be, and that's really helpful for me.
Perfect. I was doing a story.
Beautiful.
Okay, next question. So where has been your favorite place to live in your lifetime?
Oh, a fun question. So where has been my favorite place I lived or visited?
Says here live.
Lived. Okay.
Maybe you can say visited too.
Right.
Yeah.
Visited is definitely going to be an Asian country. I love Asian culture. I love how it's like all family and food based and everything's a party and like it's just a riot out there. Love Asia. I lived in Hong Kong, lived in Shanghai. I haven't lived in too many places. I lived in Utah. I lived in Massachusetts for high school, Western Massachusetts specifically, and I lived a little bit in Manhattan after high school. And if you were to count, like I served a mission, a LDS religious mission for 6 months in Calgary, Canada. So I lived in Calgary. I've done summer cells in Vegas, Kansas City, and I had to get apartments there. So I guess I technically lived there as well. But the favorite place I've lived will probably be Manhattan. Yeah. Manhattan was a very, very, very transitional period for me in my life. Obviously, it was right after I graduated high school. I moved to Manhattan. I lived in Midtown by Hell's Kitchen. It was fantastic. I loved the people. I loved the hustle. I loved the grind, especially because I was 18 at the time, forming my young, dumb brain. It was just very, very, very good for me to just have all the perception and increased perception and have that city life. Shout out to my brother Daryl Kemsley. He actually took very, very good care of me. He's been there forever. And he actually, I remember I was going through a breakup out of my whole high school relationship, and Brian actually got me a gym membership doing Muay Thai, practicing BJJ, And it was just really cool for me to be an adult on the first time and have my schedule, have my work schedule, and have my routine of going and doing Muay Thai and BJJ 3 times a week at least, and then also going to Brooklyn, commuting to Brooklyn to go to a free running academy there and practice all that. But New York City, loved it. Food's amazing, people's amazing, the hustle's amazing. Would I live there again? Probably not, but best place I've lived. And visited. I'm talking so much, guys, right now. It's because I have a very busy day today and I have a lot to do after this. So sorry for this sporadic energy. But visited. My favorite place, it has to be somewhere in Asia. Probably this ancient Miao village that's mostly untouched. That I went to in the Hunan province in China, Zhangjiajie on that same trip. Shout out to Crystal. Thanks for showing me a great time. Shout out to my dad. Thanks for making that happen. Yeah, Bali. I love Bali. Who doesn't love Bali? But yeah. I lived in Asia for 11 years of my life before I moved to the States for the first time. And the only time, not the first time. But obviously your formative years where your subconscious is molded, where your behavior patterns are molded, is all from 0 to 11. And that's literally when I moved to the States. So that being said, and by blood, my dad again is American, white American, Caucasian. My mother is Chinese, so I'm half Chinese. But I do think I'm a lot more Chinese than that, especially because my formative years was all in the local ecosystem. I went to a local communist school in China. I went to school 13 hours a day every day. So I didn't have much of a childhood besides school, education, and learning Mandarin. That being said, I am so grateful for the time I spent in China. Absolutely love the people there. I've had a lot of trauma there, just to be frank and just to be honest, but it's what made me who I am today, and it's also what makes me so in love with this country as well, and all the freedom that we enjoy and experience here. So definitely very grateful for my time in China. Good question, Jazz.
Okay, so next question is, where do you draw the line with helping others and stepping back to do self-care? And after that, okay.
Is there a second part, or?
Yeah, it says, what is your biggest accomplishment? But I feel like those are two separate questions.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, that is such a good question. That is an amazing question. So, and again, I've answered this in my podcast, so please go watch episode 1 of the podcast. It will make our day. But the question is, again, right, like, where do you draw the line between helping people and self-care?
Yeah.
This is very, very, very important. If you are empathetic, I'm naturally a very empathetic person. I feel other people's emotions. I feel other people's energy very, very heavily. If you're an empathetic person, and even if you're less empathetic of a person, it is very important for you to be able to set boundaries and know what is self-destructive to you and what is helping other people. We live in a society where loyalty is extremely revered, and like helping other people and service is obviously fantastic. Like, my life model is pay it forward, but however, you are your first responsibility, and I would even go out and say, while you're building yourself, you are your only responsibility. And just to make this like a very, very simple example, if this is you, right? We're not sponsored by them, but hopefully we are one day. I love this water. But if this is you, and you are constantly pouring to other people, you're constantly pouring to your childhood best friend, you're constantly pouring to your another childhood best friend who's constantly getting in trouble with the law, getting arrested, you have to go bail them out, you're pouring to your partner, you're pouring to your family, you're pouring to your responsibilities. You could keep pouring and pouring and pouring, but if you have a crack in your foundation, if you have a crack in your bottle, you're going to pour to the literal death of you. Like, literally. I'm not saying service isn't good, but I am saying that while you're building yourself, finding your purpose, and discovering that self-love that is ultimately what everyone needs to go and do, I would limit the amount of pouring that you do. The only thing that we truly have in this life is energy. Energy is the only thing that we have. And back to what I said earlier about our society revering loyalty. I don't even believe in loyalty, man. I really don't. And that doesn't mean I don't believe with sticking with your friends. I don't believe with sticking with your partner, sticking with your family. Like, to a degree, yes. But if they choose by their own actions to be self-destructive, and if their actions have consequences to your life, it is your responsibility to cut that off. And obviously there's some principles of loyalty, as in if you've been with someone for years and years and years and they've helped you through a lot, there's obviously more of a range, like amount of hiccups that they could do before you go there, especially you could work together and try to build each other up. But what I'm talking about is relationships in your life that purely just hold you down. Do not fall into the concept of loyalty. Do not. At the end of the day, you are the only person you have. You are your only responsibility. And guess what? If you take the time to like dive into filling this cup, filling in all the cracks, discovering your behavioral patterns, discovering your subconscious and why it is the way it is, discovering some traumas you may have and why they are for you, not to you, to be who you are. If you take the time to really just take that dive into character development, into your self-conscious, what you're going to get at the end of the day is not this bottle anymore, but a 10-gallon jug. And then you're going to be able to pour continuously on the macro. And I truly, truly believe that. I truly believe for you to be able to have any macro influence in our human family in this world, you really have to figure yourself out first. So I'm not saying, hey, loyalty is bad. I'm not saying, hey, serving other people is bad. But what I am here to say is make sure you're serving yourself first. Make sure you are doing everything you need to sustain your mindset, to sustain your goals. Make sure you are cutting out the right people in your life, the wrong people in your life, and leaving the right people in your life to make sure your progression is always happening. You know what I mean? That being said, life is truly about service. So this is kind of a tough question, and life is about serving others. But I hope you understand the concept that you really just got to do that for yourself first. And once this is done, you can serve on the macro. And let me just take a little bit more time with this question and put out a personal example. I've been friends with, so I met someone at the gym a few years ago. His name is Jaden. He's now one of my best friends. I love him to death. And Jaden was homeless. Jaden was living out of a tent. Jaden had literally had to steal food to be able to eat. And he was just very focused on his goals. Me and Jasser, we made a YouTube documentary series of helping Jaden, helping him. It's been almost 2 years now, so we've gotten him into multiple apartments. We employed him, and this has been such a life-changing experience for me to see how freaking hungry Jaden is and see how productive he is with growing himself. And it's like, whoa, if you don't believe in helping other people, it's like, hey, I had the mental ability to be able to help him because I've been working on myself a lot. But beyond that, he was, even though and I'm okay with saying this because he's very open about this, but he used to, be a drug abuser. He used to sell drugs, and that's something he's not very proud of right now, but it makes him who he is today, and he's an incredible man. And why did I spend so much of my time and energy? Really, he went to jail actually, and our help with the company and the letter we wrote actually helped him avoid a prison sentence. And it's like, why would we do that? And it's simply because he was ready for it. You will know when people are ready and deserving of the help, and those are the people who actually work on themselves as you help them. You know what I mean? I don't believe in handouts. I believe in hand-ups, and man, he really helped me in unbelievable ways. He helped me with my mind. He helped me with my perspective, and I love him to death. So Jaden, if you're watching this, proud of you, man. Love you to death. And with Jaden, he has such a giving heart. When we started paying him, because he started working for us, when we started paying him, his money would all go to his friends. His money would all go to, hey, this person took care of me when I was homeless, so I'm going to give him this. Hey, this person won this. And we paid him pretty well, but he was never able to save any amount of money simply because he kept on spending it on other people. And I looked into his finances. He really was spending it on other people. And this is a great example of this question, because I had to sit down with Jaden and talk to him and say, hey, I know you're a giver. There's a lot of honor in giving and helping, but right now, you're not there yet. You're on the path of being there. I know what your potential is. I know you know what your potential is, but you are not there yet. And until you are there, for us to continue our relationship, and I had a tough conversation with him. I'm like, Jaden, for me and you to continue this relationship, you're going to have to tone down the amount of your giving. Right now, make a budget. I want you, if as long as you want to work here, to only spend on your friends and spend on giving to other people 15% of your take home every single week. And I'm going to watch this and make sure that happens. Why? Because right now is the time, newly out of jail, newly on this new leaf of your life, for you to be filling yourself up, filling in all those cracks. And guess what? Even though we're narrowing down how you're helping your friends now, the byproduct of who you become, the byproduct of who you're going to be for taking the time to make you 100% solid, you're going to be able to give at a much bigger scale. So this was a very big answer, but it's a very big and important question. Do not overextend yourself. Everything is energy. And if you're exporting that energy, make sure it is a constructive and not destructive decision. And if it is destructive to you and your life, part of growing up is just cutting that out. That doesn't mean helping other people isn't honorable, but again, I've said this 1,000 times, fill your cracks, be good, and this is going to become a hose, and you're going to be able to help on the macro. Speaking of which, I'm a little thirsty.
So,
what was the part 2 of that?
Next question is, what's your biggest accomplishments?
What's my biggest accomplishments?
Yeah.
I have a lot of little trivial things that I'm kind of proud of. By the way, I'm reading this book. Carlos Martin sent me this book. Thank you so much, Carlos. Love you to death. What an amazing man. Obviously, I'm proud of the book I wrote with Brian Tracy. This actually became an international bestseller on Amazon, but international. Number 16. Yeah, I'm proud of that. I'm proud that I was able to be invited to be something like this. I was proud that I received editors, like the publishers gave me Editor's Choice Award for my contributions to the book. I'm proud that it became a bestseller. Within the trivial awards in my life, this year, I am actually the recipient of Intercon's Innovation and Technology Award. So it's not something you can even reach out to. They reach out to 500 people in a global scale for honorable mentions. And then there's a 2-month process of interviews and vetting. And I ended up being the one recipient of this award. So I'm very proud of that. But trivial things aside, within merits and accomplishments, as a soul, my biggest accomplishment is probably 2 things. One thing is finding the love for myself that I so desperately need. Taking the time, again, I wrote about this in my book. I talked about this in my first podcast, to be able to unplug and really discover who I am and find that love for myself and break out of toxic behavior patterns. That is something I'll give myself credit for. And obviously, if I am who I am tomorrow, today, if I am who I am today, tomorrow, then I consider that a failure, because we need to be moving forward. We can't be stagnant. But in terms of in bigger accomplishment rather than me, I would say is the team that I have. From my developers, from my executive partners, from even Jasser, who's in charge of the media. Everyone has put in so much sacrifice, blood, sweat, tears, sleepless nights, hours and hours and hours and hours of work for a vision for the collective. And it is such an accomplishment for me to have the amazing people in my life who excel in talents way above me and excel in fields way above me, like actual billionaires who just really want to help the vision and really, really, really put a lot of value in my life. So I would say my circle, my network is my biggest accomplishment. And it's crazy. It's crazy to have insanely good human beings with extraordinary talent to just be in something with you together. It's the most life-changing thing ever. And yeah, screw all the trivial stuff. My team is my greatest accomplishment for sure.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Another question is, intelligence or wisdom? What's more important for a better world?
Dang, that is a good question. This is going to be very, very weird, and it might not make sense to people, but I don't really care. I don't believe in intelligence. I don't really believe in pursuing knowledge. Is there a lot you could learn? Absolutely. Is there a lot to learn? Absolutely. But I'm a big believer in wisdom, and let me tell you why. There is a lot of ego involved in the pursuit of knowledge. There's a lot of ego in the academic world. There's a lot of ego in the medicine world. There's a lot of ego in archaeology. There's a lot of ego in science. And please bear with me here. Every single one of these industries are dependent on one thing, and that one thing is funding. And within the world of those industries, they have to stick in the box and parameters of their norms to be able to not be blacklisted and to be able to receive that funding and be hired by companies, be hired and even be able to receive grants. You cannot be a professor, you cannot be a scientist with crazy ideas and inputs and have a legitimate sustaining career. Maybe it's been done very few times, but overall in the system that is almost impossible. And a lot of people go out and pursue knowledge for the sake of being better than other people or having cards in their stack of like, look at this, look at what I know, this is why I'm like better than them. What I'm trying to say is there's a lot of ego involved with knowledge because of this concept. We live in a quantum world. Quantum science has been proven to be real. Quantum physics. We know that there are so many dimensions. We know that there is so much we don't know. And if we think about science, how different is science from the 60s and 70s compared to science now? How different is science 10 years ago compared to science now? And there's so much political say in science too. Global cooling, global warming, like whatever it is. I'm not saying I don't believe in science. I'm not saying I don't believe in knowledge. All those are great things. But what I'm saying is they are attached to a system that is primarily driven by ego for the ego that actually pigeonholes us as a society from true innovation. What I do believe in is wisdom. I believe all wisdom is living and allowing yourself to live in a way where you're in tune. The universe, God, whatever you want to put the name to the deity, wants the best for you. And you're not here to just be a victim of circumstance. You're not here to just be a victim of other people's problems and BSs. You are here to thrive. You are here to grow. You are here to be part of the human family and help the human family on a macro perspective. And I truly believe that allowing yourself eating the right foods, that's avoidant of toxins, exercising, just like whatever you need to do where you're more in tune with this universe, where you're more in tune with the human family, where you can listen to inspiration and act on inspiration, that's what really drives the world. You could level up your mind and spend your entire life. You could dedicate your entire life to amassing as much knowledge as you possibly can, as much knowledge as you could possibly acquire, and that's fantastic. But what I do think is more important is leveling up your gut, leveling up that intuition, leveling up how to be in tune, because that is something that's divine. That's something that's cosmic. That's something that leads you not just through this life, but leads you towards your, big scale, macro progression, eternal progression. And knowledge, it's so trivial. And besides the fact that, like, okay, you could spend your entire life learning something, but everything you've done might be completely outdated 10 years after you, 15 years after you, 20 years after you. Is there no honor in knowledge? No, absolutely there is honor, but I'm just being very oversimplified. Believe in your gut, trust in your gut, and do everything you need to be more in tune with this universe that wants the best for you. And I truly, truly, truly believe that if we all as a whole stepped away from knowledge a little bit, especially because we already have the answers to literally everything on our fingertips, if we just stepped away from those pursuits for whatever reasons that we pursue them and actually stepped into, ourselves and intuition and discernment, I think our lives will be better, and I think there will be a better collective focus in why we do things, rather than just sticking the boxes to be able to be part of what everyone else is saying and everyone else is doing to get the funding to be able to remain in that box. Big answer. Sorry.
Next question is, does free will exist, or is every action predetermined?
Holy cow, these are very big questions. I don't know why I'm being asked these questions, simply because, again, these are all my opinions. I am not an expert on any of this, but that is a very good question. Does free will exist, or is it all predetermined? I'm a big believer that free will exists. I don't think I'm even qualified to answer this question. I do think, you know what I mean, you could predict behavior. Like, AI right now could predict behavior via, for example, I'm in the fintech world. If you download somebody's financial history, if you download somebody's all their spending habits and everything, even a simple AI bot could literally tell you, okay, chances are 82% chance when this income comes in here, they're going to be spending it here, here, here. So obviously, with increased perception, with increased knowledge, you can predict behavior, and we could even do that by our own hands in this world. So if there is a divine power way bigger than us, which I believe there is, that makes sense that could be done at a much better scale. However, that does not take away responsibility. That does not take away the reason why you're here and the fact that you make the choices that you make. It doesn't take away from that. Just because it may be predicted does not take away that responsibility that you have for yourself to make the decisions you need for yourself.
All right. Last question.
Yeah, we could do. Let's do a few more.
Okay. Will or could a world without reliance on modern technology make any progress?
Could a world without reliance on modern technology make progress?
Yeah.
Wow. These are amazing questions. Yes, absolutely. I believe that, right now, if you were to have to think of human beings, like, what do humans do in this world? We innovate, we make technology. That's what we do. We live in a very consumeristic society, and how we choose with our spending, where all the money is, where the money is in for R&D, where the money is in for development, where the money is in as in consumer spending habits is all in technology. But if all that was taken away, could we live in a sustainable world without our understanding of technology now? 100%. 100%. And I think the world will be very, 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 very different, but I also think it will be a different hierarchy and a different baseline understanding of how the world operates, and we'll probably be a little bit less of egotistical monkeys and apes who just walk around for instant gratification and validation, and we'll probably be more about for the collective and living actually in the present, focusing on gratitude, focusing on your actual surrounding. But these are all hypotheticals. Again, I'm an idiot. That's just my thoughts. Very good question.
Another question is, they say beauty is associated with morality. Do you agree? Why or why not?
They say beauty is associated with morality.
Yeah.
I don't even think I'm smart enough to understand that question,
I don't
to
even
be
know.
frank.
Okay.
But let me try and answer that. No, I don't think so. Why or why not? Because beauty is within the eye of the beholder. Everybody knows that. And obviously you could be like a generally good looking dude, a generally good looking girl, but that has nothing to do with your morality. That has nothing to do with your ethics. That has nothing to do with your mind. That has nothing to do with your personality. So in my mind, I think no.
All right. So, why do we respect the dead more than the living?
Wow, that's true. And that's very, very true. Besides, like, every celebrity and, like, rappers dying young and them getting a name after their death, like, even think about, like Jesus the Christ. If Jesus, and I have this thought all the time, if Jesus were not to come 2,000 years ago, but were to be here today, would we follow him? Would we make a church around him? Or would we just think he's crazy, claiming to be the Son of God? And do we follow him more because it is something that happened in history 2,000 years ago and he is dead? Um, it's an interesting question. And I think the simple answer is you don't know what you have until it's gone. If you live in the present, if you try to be grounded, I think it's easier for you to have the right mindset and the right perspective and the right respect and appreciation for the people who are still currently alive and what they're doing. But I think together as a macro, together as a collective, we're still in the vibration that we kind of just don't know what we have until it's gone. And I think that's pretty much the answer. We just don't know what we have till it's gone. So if you're gone, we're going to respect your legacy a little bit more.
People are asking if you're single or not. Why are you single?
Okay, so someone asked if I'm single and somebody asked why I'm single.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, I am single. In fact, I've maybe been on like 4 or 5 first dates since 2019. And why I'm single, I believe relationships should be co-independent. If you come together, you're building something together, you're productive together, and you're still independent, going towards your collective goals. For me, and what I'm trying to accomplish, and for me, everything I'm doing now, and even the past few years of my life, I've really just been focusing on, again, back to my analogy of building me up and filling up all my cracks. Me personally, I have a hard time in relationships because of my childhood trauma, because of like how receptive I am with love and how sometimes I lash out. When I was younger, I noticed myself to be more controlling in relationships, simply because I needed to be able to control things and needed that security and love. And that's just old patterns and old thought processes that no longer serve me, and that I had to really dive in through character development to figure out, hey, that's not what I want. Ever since doing that and discovering the love I do have for myself and the respect I do have for myself, I've frankly been not motivated to date. I'm very happy with my life now. I'm very happy with everything I'm striving to do. Do I want to have a partner and marry someone and have kids one day? Absolutely. I've wanted that my entire life. But I'm a man of faith. I truly think that as long as I stay focused, as long as I work on myself, as long as I work on everything that I'm building, that time will come, and I'm not going to lose sleep until that time comes, because there's way too many people on this planet to think you're not going to end up with someone. Way too many people. And I like to think that my future wifey's probably out there kicking ass on her own path right now, or going through trials on her own path right now to make her who she needs to be able to, for us to vibe productively. But very long answer short, lack of motivation, because dating and trying to be in the dating world after you find that purpose and love for yourself is kind of ridiculous. Actually, it's yeah. So, but hey, I still go on dates. I've been on, again, like maybe 4 or 5 dates since 2019. I want to get married and have kids one day, but for now, I'm perfectly happy, perfectly content, and I'm just going to have faith that, hey, something's going to happen, but how long that's going to take, neither do I care, or neither do I put mental bandwidth into that. Perfect. Is that all the questions for now?
I think so, dude.
Hey, thank you guys so. Wow. So 3 missed calls, even. Okay, that's okay, because we're going to get back to work now. But thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. This has been the second episode of the Daryl Kemsley Podcast. I am so sorry for speaking way too quick this podcast, simply because we have a busy day today. But hey, we are serious about this podcast. We're serious about being consistent, and we will post every Friday. Thank you so much for tuning in.